Let's look into more on the perspective of the timeline of the GOP agenda. Joining me now, GOP strategist and political analyst Ford O'Connell, Independent Women's Forum senior fellow Gail Trotter, and your Healthcare Playbook author, Dr. Dennis Deruelle. Welcome all. Great to have you here.
Good to be here.
Ford, I want to start with you, my friend, because you are so familiar with John McCain, having worked with him, worked for him. Do you expect him to come back sooner than expected? Is he really going to be able to recover quickly? There are people out there saying it may take weeks.
Well, look, it may take weeks, but John McCain's going to make it back because he believes that Obamacare should be repealed. But what you're asking here is a very simple question. Given that we have two public no's in Collins and Rand Paul, it shows you how shaky this vote is. It cannot get done without John McCain. And you asked another question. How many delays can we actually afford? This is being done through budget reconciliation. If they don't sign this into law by September 30th of this year, guess what? Obamacare is going to be the law of the land for the near future, because you can only pass legislation through budget reconciliation once in a fiscal year, and that means you have two bites of the apple between now and the midterms. And we know that the other budget reconciliation has to be reserved for tax reform, because we know something about the Democrats. No matter what the Republicans put across the finish line, they're going to stand against it because they don't want to give Donald Trump a legislative victory.
Well, Gail, to you, I mean, we were talking about how hard everybody's been working towards this goal of this, putting in place this new bill. But the president called Senator Lee. Priebus is calling Susan Collins, who's promised to vote against this bill. What's it going to take? Because every time there seems to be a building coalition, it gets fractionalized, splintered by something as people bring forward new ideas. Is it possible to come together on health care?
Yes, they should. And Ford is right. The long-term strategy must be to completely repeal and replace Obamacare. But the short-term strategy is that we need to move towards anything that takes it away from government-run health care. And if we can get that done under the budget reconciliation by the end of September, then we can move on to tax reform. And in that case, we'll be able to really juice up the economy, and we'll be able to relieve the American taxpayer from the almost 7 billion hours and over $250 million that American taxpayers spend right now on tax reporting compliance. And this is a mission critical for this Congress.
You bet. It's just amazing how much there is to do. Dennis, to you, I was asking the senator about Joe Biden's comments about health care being a right. And I really think there are a lot of people in America who have moved to this position, a lot of regular voting Americans who say, oh, yeah, that's a right. But can we afford it as part of the government? I just think the costs of this are astronomical. Are people even thinking about that?
Well, let's put it this way. Health care is not an enumerated right, and it's not a privilege. It's just the right thing to do. And I think we've moved to that now in America. But I think with this new bill, we've got some great ways to bring down costs so that can be more affordable. And if we move in this direction, we're going to be able to bring in more value-based models that we've already been able to show can increase quality and decrease cost. But if I told you there was a bill that 7 years later was going to have 29 million people uninsured, that Medicaid would be cut by 10%, that premiums would be up over 100%, what would you think of that bill? Well, that's not the Senate bill. That's the Affordable Care Act. That's where we are today.
I've got to tell you, there have been some unfortunate consequences of that bill for sure.